How's it going, everybody? I'm Steve, and welcome back. Tonight I'm really excited to talk about probably my 15 favorite directors. I'm sure I'm going to be leaving off some really great ones off here. These are just the ones that I've watched the most of, the ones I own the most movies from. I have a couple honorable mentions that I'll just go over at the end here, just because I don't want to leave them out necessarily, but I think I picked up some good ones here. These are kind of loosely ranked. It's not real specific. I tried to put them in the order of what I like, the least to most. Obviously 15 directors. I'm not saying that any of these directors are bad. So at number 15, I'm not going to really talk about all the films from these directors. I'm only going to show like one film from each one, and I'll try to just go off the top of my head, just some other titles that I really like from these directors. But so at number 15, this one's director Wes Anderson. I've got the Royal Tenenbaums here. I really like Rushmore and the Grand Budapest Hotel and Moonrise Kingdom and Fantastic Mr. Fox, and he's done a lot of titles I really like. It's kind of an art house kind of director. I think some people may not like his humor necessarily, but I'm a huge fan of what he does. I used to like a lot of his earlier stuff a lot more than some of the newer stuff, which I like some of the newer stuff as well. But just the stuff he did earlier was it was more pure. I think a little funnier. So at number 14, I have David Fincher. I'm holding up Seven. I think one of his best films. The Social Network's really great. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. He did The Killer was released last year. That was like, it's been a while since he'd been in theaters. He's done a lot of stuff like Netflix in recent years, where it's been mostly like direct to Netflix. But this one, The Killer got into theaters. The movie Mank was in theaters for a brief period of time. The Zodiac's really great movie. And Panic Room, I think, is kind of an underrated movie from him. The Game, really great. So at number 13, I have David Lynch. I'm holding up a Blue Velvet. Obviously, Mulholland Drive, a lot of people love that movie. Some people don't. The Straight Story is like a Disney film, which is really odd for David Lynch to do. Obviously, Twin Peaks is what he's probably best known for. He also did the movie Fire Walk With Me and did the TV show, which I think if you haven't seen the TV show, especially season 3, you got to check that out. The Elephant Man, Eraserhead. I'm sure that Eraserhead's definitely a polarizing kind of movie. Just some great, Wild at Heart's pretty good. Lost Highway. I think he's done some really odd movies. A lot of people don't like his style. David Lynch is kind of known for, saying that he doesn't agree that movies don't necessarily have to make sense, or the story doesn't have to make sense, because that makes him so weird. And I think it's why people like his movies so much. So at number 12, I have John Carpenter. This is something anybody that's a horror fan will definitely understand this one. Halloween is probably his most beloved film. Assault on Precinct 13, The Fog, Escape from New York, The Thing, really great movie. Christine, he did Big Trouble in Little China. They Live, really great. Some really good stuff here. In the Mouth of Madness, a lot of people are really kind of enjoying that movie now, including myself. It's one that's kind of grown on me over the years. Vampires is pretty good, but he's not in the horror genre. He's the king. He only did the first Halloween movie, so he's been involved with some of the writing and music for the other Halloween movies, but he did this classic. So at number 11, I have Christopher Nolan. Obviously, The Dark Knight's probably my favorite from him. Oppenheimer is so great. But he did the Batman trilogy, the Dark Knight trilogy. Insomnia is pretty good. Memento is really great. Just some Interstellar is good, even though it's kind of a long movie. Dunkirk, Tenet. Some people, that's kind of polarizing to a lot of people, but he won an Oscar for Oppenheimer earlier this year, and obviously the movie from last year. I loved Oppenheimer, but I still think The Dark Knight's my favorite from him. All right, so at number 10, I have James Cameron. Obviously a big Hollywood director, Canadian. He just recently turned 70. He did, obviously the Terminator. I'm holding up Aliens, even though it's the first 4 Alien films, but he did Aliens as a great movie. The Abyss, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, True Lies, Titanic. Did great at the box office. I love that movie. I don't care what people say. I really like. The Avatar movies are okay. They make a lot of money, which I love the fact that the people support those films, and they go to the theater and help out movie theaters. I'm a big fan of movie theaters. So at number 9, I have Brian De Palma. Did some great stuff. Some people would say he's kind of copies Alfred Hitchcock, but he does such a great job of them. And Brian, I'm holding up the Untouchables, which is probably one of my favorites from De Palma. I have never done a ranking on his films because I've only seen like maybe half of his movies. He's done so many films over the years, but I mean, Criterion Collection, he has like Sisters and Blowout and Dressed to Kill, some really great stuff. But I like Phantom of the Paradise. It's such a weird movie from him. Carrie, that's an iconic film, and just some really great stuff in here. Scarface. He directed Scarface, which is such a bizarre kind of disaster kind of violent film. But he did that. That one was written by Oliver Stone. So, such a weird movie. Al Pacino. But yeah, Brian De Palma is so great though. All right, so number 8, I have Terry Gilliam. This obviously, anybody that knows my channel knows that I'm a huge Monty Python fan. He was the only American in that comedy troupe. But I love his style. I'm holding up The Fisher King, which obviously he did. Robin Williams and Jeff Bridges and Mercedes Rule. Love this movie, but he also, a lot of people love Brazil. Time Bandits and The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. 12 Monkeys. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is one that's grown on me over the years, and that one's in the Criterion Collection, just like this one. But I love what he does, just as weird as he is. Some of his newer movies I'm not as big of a fan of, but just like the 80s, late 70s and 80s kind of work. I like Jabberwocky is one of those weird movies that's in the Criterion Collection that's not so great, but that was technically his first film, even though he was considered the co-director of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. But okay, so at number 7 I have Quentin Tarantino. Iconic director. He's not somebody that went to like film school or anything. He learned from watching movies basically. But I love his writing is so great. I think he's even a better writer than he is a director. But I love his films. Love the visual style. Love like the violence in his movies. But obviously I'm holding up Pulp Fiction, probably his best movie. I think Reservoir Dogs is really great. Jackie Brown, Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2. He's at Death Proof is like the one that a lot of people kind of laugh at, but I think it's great that he did something that wasn't like Oscar bait necessarily. Just did something different. And Inglourious Bastards and Django Unchained and The Hateful Eight. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think, really great movie. I think it's probably my second favorite to Pulp Fiction. So, all right. So at number 6, I have Steven Spielberg. I'm holding up Jaws, one of my favorite movies of all time. Close Encounters of a Third Kind, Raiders of the Lost Ark. At least the first 3 are really great in that franchise from him. The 5th one he didn't direct, but I thought that movie was okay. Obviously E.T. is such a great movie. If you're a kid watching those kind of movies, he did a Hook. A lot of younger kids like that movie a lot. Jurassic Park, iconic film. Schindler's List, so great. Saving Private Ryan. I mean, come on, Saving Private Ryan, so great. Minority Report's pretty good. War of the Worlds, Munich. I think Munich is really an underrated kind of movie. Just some great stuff here. That so many people loved. Catch Me If You Can. It's just some really great ones. But Jaws is still my favorite from him. It's one I've got to watch every July 4th weekend. All right, so number 5, I have Akira Kurosawa. I had to mention this, at least one foreign film director, because he's such an iconic director, and he's influenced so many American directors, and I've discovered his work maybe 4 years ago, and I've just been watching so many of his movies. But this one's Seven Samurai, which I think is getting like a 4K release pretty soon. But Akiru's one I've seen recently. Throne of Blood. He did The Hidden Fortress. High and Low. Some great ones. Ran, I think they call it. Dreams is such a good movie. So many movies I've seen. All the ones I've seen so far, I've really liked. High and Low is probably the most dialogue I've seen in any film. But Kurosawa, I think, so many American directors owe so much to him. All right, so number 4, I have Francis Ford Coppola. Obviously, if you watch my channel, you know that I'm a huge Godfather fan and love Godfather 2. The movie The Conversation is one that I think a lot of people are discovering now, including myself. I just saw it maybe earlier this year for the first time. I really love that movie. Apocalypse Now is one I've kind of grown. It's kind of grown on me over the years. The Outsiders is such a great movie. Rumblefish is kind of an art house kind of movie. It's supposed to be sort of like a loose sequel to The Outsiders, or by the same writer. Obviously, he did The Godfather 3. A lot of people didn't love that one too much, but Bram Stoker's Dracula, I think, is kind of underrated. The Rainmaker's really great. He's got actually a new movie coming out later this year. It's a Megalopolis, which I've heard kind of mixed reviews on, but I definitely want to check that one out. So number 3, I have Martin Scorsese. Obviously, I'm holding up Goodfellas. Taxi Driver is really great. Mean Streets, Raging Bull is really great. The After Hours is really good. Just some great films over the years. Casino is really great. Even the Gangs of New York is maybe one of his lower rated films, but I still love that one. The Wolf of Wall Street's really good. The Irishman, Killers of the Flower Moon, an underrated movie. Really long movie though, but Goodfellas, such a classic. So number 2, I have Alfred Hitchcock. This is a director I'm learning about now. After for years I had seen Psycho, but now I'm starting to really discover so many of his films. To Catch a Thief is the one I've seen most recently. Rear Window is a really great movie. Just some really great ones here. Rebecca, just Notorious is really good. Just everything I've seen so far has been pretty solid. Even like Marnie's not bad with Sean Connery, James Bond. Just those movies. And I think before too long, Hitchcock may be my number 1, but for now he's at number 2, and then it's moving up the ranks. So number 1, I have Stanley Kubrick. Obviously, I'm holding up The Shining, but he's in so many great films. Full Metal Jacket and Barry Lyndon, Clockwork Orange, 2001. Dr. Strangelove, one of my favorite films ever. Spartacus is not bad. Lolita is not bad. Passive Glory is really great. The Killing. He's done some great films, but like I said, I think Alfred Hitchcock's going to eventually take number 1. But I've liked Stanley Kubrick's films longer, so I had to make him number 1 at least today. But like I said, Hitchcock's going to be probably number 1 before too long. But Stanley Kubrick's such an iconic director. So as far as my honorable mentions, I had to mention Richard Linklater. Obviously, he's got like six titles in the Criterion Collection, starting with the Slacker and this one. He has the 3 films in the Before trilogy. He has Boyhood's in that collection. He's had some good films in there. School of Rock, some really good ones. Suburbia, I think, is really underrated. Me and Orson Welles, I think Bernie is really underrated as well. Everybody Wants Some is really good. Just some great titles. So I just had to mention him. And then the other one, obviously, I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt, and this director, George Lucas, obviously, he only directed like 6 films. So that's why I didn't include him in my list. But obviously, the original Star Wars, he did, THX 1138. He did, American Graffiti is really great, and I like. And as far as the original trilogy, the prequels, I really like Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. But I just had to mention, George is really a better writer. I think writer than he is a director. He did the Indiana Jones, at least the first 4 films in that franchise, and so I had to mention him just because I think he's important as far as creating new worlds and creatures and characters, and so I had to just kind of at least mention George Lucas. But as far as directing, when you only do 6 films, you can't really put him in your top 15 list. But still, George Lucas, I think, is worth mentioning anyway. All right, everybody, so I appreciate you watching my video tonight. Please leave in the comments some of your favorite directors. It doesn't have to be all these. I'm sure some of these would make most people's list, but it doesn't have to be these necessarily. You can do foreign film directors if you'd like. Please put a thumbs up on this video. And everybody have a great one. Thank you.